Per usual, everything else channels for educational purposes only and is not intended as financial advice. It's Wednesday. Let's take a look at some alts. Bit of a mixed bag across the board. Some good things, some not so good things. Starting to get lift off a little bit for some alts, not all alts. A few that are doing very well relative to the group, obviously. This is global liquidity in the green there, which has ticked down a little bit after breaking out, mainly because the dollar has ticked up because of geopolitical strife going on in the Middle East. US liquidity in the white there, basically just flat. So things to look forward to this quarter would be the November FOMC, the election, maybe a TGA drawdown because of a debt ceiling fight. Look forward to meaning things that'll move the markets, not necessarily up or down, but what we don't want to see is dollar strengthening. We are inverse to the dollar. So if there continues to be issues in the Middle East or elsewhere, then I'd imagine the dollar would continue to strengthen. Now, to be fair to the technicals here, it had been basically going straight down for like 12 weeks in a row. So it makes sense that there's at the very least a relief rally. But what we don't want to see is any sort of firm daily bottom, multi-month bottom being put in here on the DXY. And depending on the jobs numbers, Friday, we may get some DXY weakness coming back in. But ultimately, it's the FOMC meeting on the election that's going to really change things potentially in the election itself, depending on what goes on there and how the market views either candidate's direction for the dollar. Looking at dominance still does not suggest it's a great time for alts, folks. Every alt's a good alt. That's not where we're at. We are not in alt season. Dominance still looks fine, grinding higher, churning higher slowly but surely. So against everything, against the group, it does not bode well for alts relative to BTC. This is total 2. Now total 2 has broken out of the falling sickle pattern pretty convincingly. Still below the cloud there on the daily. But what we could get is some sort of triple bottom throughout Q4. TBD, yet to be determined. Probably dependent on the election. I don't imagine alts do well if Harris gets elected. At least the week of, the night of, the month of. So I'd be careful holding a bunch of alts into the election unless you're confident that Trump will win. Because I don't think the market is going to perceive a Harris win as a win for alts. Total 2 against BTC, still hanging out at the lows. Not much has changed here. Basically just inverted dominance. And previously it took multiple months, 2019 into 2021, for alts to do well against BTC. So if charts look like this, that tells me don't allocate as a large percentage into alts versus BTC. Total 3 BTC looks a little bit better. It's trying to round off here. It's trying to bottom. It hasn't made a lower low in quite some time. It looks pretty good. This, of course, throws out Bitcoin and ETH. ETH, admittedly, the worst probably looking alt of the bunch, I think, as far as the high caps are concerned. It just hasn't gone anywhere in a long time. I'm not saying it won't ever move up again, but we got to be honest here. It just doesn't look great. ETH BTC back at lows, ready to probably make new lows. Is this a short? I don't think so. What's your downside, right? Your upside risk, if you're short, is mean reversion to 0.6. If you try to guess along here, your downside is probably 0.35 or something like that. I don't think it's a great trade either way, but I definitely don't think shorting this all the way down here, much like shorting the dollar after it was down 12 weeks, shorting ETH BTC after it was basically straight down for 12 weeks just seems a little bit silly, but definitely doesn't look like it's bottomed here just yet. As far as some of the alt analogs, ARK, which is where the silly hyper spec money is sitting, not great, not terrible, just flat, not out of the weekly cloud just yet, not above the key volume areas just yet, but this is something to watch throughout Q4. Do we get liftoff like we did post-COVID? I don't think we'll see anything that crazy unless we get stimmies again, but it will be interesting if this starts to curl up into Q4, and something that has curled up is the watch index, which we've looked at for a while now, months and months and months of looking at this thing. Now, it did try to bounce in May, but this to me is the same type of money that seeks NFTs and altcoins and meme coins and can be used as a gauge for, is there an appetite for this type of stuff from these type of people, right? We're just stereotyping here, but let's be honest, it's the same people. So from an NFT alt side of things, it's good to see this bounce. Can this hold? Can this hold the low? I mean, it's already down significantly, right, from the highs, basically back to the post-COVID levels. So the next step here is, can it hold the low? Can it range for a little bit? Before I go any further, let me mention today's video sponsor, Kraken Pro. Kraken Pro is a complete overhaul of the Kraken trading experience with a one-stop shop for advanced and professional traders. Kraken Pro enables efficient trading execution across multiple markets with a UI that allows for unique optimization tailored to your trading style. You can check out Kraken Pro with a link in the description of this video. Non-investment advice. Crypto trading involves risk of loss. Cryptocurrency services are provided to U.S. and U.S. territory customers by Payward Ventures Inc., PVI, DBA, Kraken. BTC has gotten increasingly angry here over the past couple days. The catalysts so far at this diag have all been negative. We have not had a positive catalyst up here at any point, and down we go. Nobody wants to bet on the middle of the range by the looks of it. Trying to peak below the cloud here. To be fair to the cloud was not fully bullish yet on this rise. So it did kind of sniff out, hey, this isn't fully legit just yet. That's going to take a series of higher lows and a series of higher highs to finally get this to flip. It's been mainly bearish on the cloud since July. We are also at the 50-day moving average, and we're talking about BTC in an altcoin video because alts are leveraged to BTC, and if BTC is bearish and expanding in a bearish direction, for the most part, alts will be double, triple, quadruple that percentage-wise, and we can just look. BTC down 2% today, Sol 4, ETH 4, XRP 6, say 3, and you get the point. You go down the list, most of the alts are going to be just amplifications of Bitcoin's direction. So what do we want? We want an inverted hammer on today's candle. We want the 50-day confirming as support. We do not want price closing below the cloud again. We really don't want anything below 57. We really do not want to play around below 56. I fear we're going to get some sort of like double-headed inverted head and shoulders potentially. And it's just, enough's enough, right? Make up your mind here. either go to 40 or go to 80. But I think all of us are kind of sick of this range at this point. But in any event, if the direction isn't clear on BTC, it's going to be even worse on alts. Alts are just going to look like they're all over the place on the USD pairs. Volume-wise, BTC at the top here. That's good to see. We typically see stables at the top during a risk-off period, but there's definitely been a lot of volume over the past week. Looking at Sol, which is above ETH, Sol still is in the range. Sol, just like BTC, we could have this, right? I'm just drawing what I'm seeing. It's not like I'm hoping or wishing for something. The next step here is, where's the low, right? Is the low slightly below where we're at now? Is this the low now? Can we return back above the 200-day? This is a predetermined level for trades. So I don't think the stop loss changes yet because we don't have a firm low. But once the new firm low is put in, that's where the stop loss should get moved up to. That's where the trailing stop loss probably gets moved up to. But for now, we just wait. There's really not much else to do for Solana. It's been in the range for quite some time here. ETH is another one where, just like Total 2, what do I really want to see to be sure? I'd love to see this. Are you kidding me? That's like the freest gift that you can get. We just don't have that yet. Like you're kind of guessing if you're hoping it bounces here and we can turn on the volume. You can always check to see if there's declining volume. Not really. So the inverted head and shoulders, purists would tell you this cannot be an inverted head and shoulders because the volume profile is not descending. I would, of course, disagree. If this finds a low and pulls up, then yeah, I'm going to trade that as an inverted head and shoulders. But for now, it's still pending. We are in wait and see mode on that one. Ripple hit the logical 66 cent level and has pulled back a little bit. Mega, massive, ultra turbo chop. Really nothing going on there on low time frames. Much like ARC on the weekly cloud, if we turn that on, you can see it maybe we'll start to do something in Q4 into 2025. Bitwise filed an ETF application today. Whether or not that gets approved, who knows? But it doesn't look like this is going anywhere fast. Something else you could maybe consider is, again, these inverted head and shoulders attempts. So what you don't want to see if you're long, or if you think this goes higher, you don't want to see a new lower low below 50 cents. Pretty simple. Psychological support as well down there. SEI. This one is on my alts that I like list. I'm not married to the idea. I'm not in love with the idea, but it is above the daily cloud. It did put in a multi-month triple bottom down here, quad bottom, quintuple bottom, whatever. And if this can hold above the cloud, that's exactly what you want to see. It doesn't need to go straight up today, but the more it can hold on to these highs, hold on to these levels, the higher the likelihood it does even better if Bitcoin can survive. FTM, I think, is similar, also holding above the cloud there. Inverted head and shoulders previously. We had talked about this, I'm sure, weeks back. And you do have a bullish Kumo twist here. So if your chart, aka ETH, doesn't look like, say, FTM or anything that's holding above the cloud, then to me, trend is still bearish or indeterminate at best. You know, you probably know what I'm going to say here for Doge. Same thing. We could see this throughout October at this point. As long as it can hold this level and not make lower lows, I'm not too concerned with Doge, but it doesn't look great, admittedly. For SUI, it actually does have a golden cross today on the daily. It's extremely overbought. So even if this goes up from here, it's just not for me. Cloud likes it at the Kijun support, which is 121. If I did have an active trade on this, which I do not, it would be a cautious hold until the Williams fractals get popped here. It's going to be hard to see on the video, but so far the 12-hour fractals have all been correct in the clear. Your current trailing stop loss would be 166 on the support fractal there. You can also just use the Tenkin. The Tenkin, you don't want to close below the Tenkin. That's just not where you want to be, especially on a parabolic move like this. So I would keep a tight trailing stop loss on that one. Whiff on the daily, also kind of all over the place. Had a big move, pulled back a little bit. And I hope it's obvious that these charts clearly aren't as bearish as they had been, but they're also not obviously like rip roaring bullish. You know, it's just kind of like, like, yeah, they're doing okay. They're not doing great. They're not doing amazing. This isn't January 23, February 23. Not yet. When we start to see this move above the cloud, in this case 255, you can see a diagonal line here forming, maybe another shoulder, right? Similar to Doge. If we can hold the lows, if we can revisit the highs back above the cloud, that's what I like. Is that so much to ask? Is that so much to ask? Pepe, same deal, same chart, same exact TA that I'd watch. Diagonal line, can this thing triple bottom? Can it make some big and tough looking inverted head and shoulders or not? Don't have the answer on that one just yet. Tau, similar to SUI, I would watch this on the 12-hour with the fractals, assuming you're in an active trade. It looks like this candle here, should we close at this level, would be a trailing stop loss trip on the 12-hour support fractal. There's probably also some sort of low time frame, Adam and Eve, or just an M double top. You know, it just doesn't look like it wants to hold these highs right now. It may come back, may pull back up, may revisit, but if I was long based on the inverted head and shoulders all the way down here, then yeah, I would use a stop loss on the 12-hour, and you do not want to see price close down here or lower. That would be a stop out condition. Cardano, not much going on for Cardano. Cardano needs the entirety of the market. You know, it needs alt season, right? It needs 2023 Q4. Not quite there yet. Just flat sideways, looks like whiff, looks like Doge, looks like everything else. Just not really doing anything at all. FET doing a little bit better, similar to FTM. You know, trying to bottom, trying to get back above the cloud, struggling in between the 50 and the 200, denied at the 200. So we're very much in this intermediate. Now we get to see what we want to be when we grow up. Do we want a bull trend here? I mean, obviously everybody wants that, but do we get it? Do we get the bull trend here or not? The making crushing further lows phase is over for now, unless it reinvigorates itself. Doesn't look like that's the base case. The base case here is we just chop around sideways here on some of these alts until BTC gets more bullish. INJ also just flat sideways below the cloud, below the 200. I mean, what else do you need? When you get above these things with the golden cross, bullish cloud conditions, then we can talk. But a lot of these charts just chop it around sideways. Near, same thing, chop sideways. SHIB pulled all the way up back to the 200-day, but still is in the cloud and just needs more time. You know, like we go from bullish to neutral to bearish to neutral to decision point, right? The decision point here would be like everything else. Are we above the cloud? Are we above the 200-day moving average? So we are still indeterminate there on trend. AVAX, same thing, just sideways. Needs time, but it's not crushing lows like it had been. That's a good sign. Link, same thing. And you know, if you squint a little bit, all these charts are basically the same chart, which kind of tells you we're not in a crazy bullish period. Generally in bullish periods, despite what 2023 to 2024 looked like, generally in bullish periods, there's a little bit more divergence between charts. Things like Sui and Tau, right? Not everything looks like that. So yeah, there's a little bit of bullishness, but broadly, no. DOT looks probably worse than everything. There's a chance that this finds a triple bottom here, but I wouldn't bet on that until it actually bottoms. It just doesn't look like that wants to hold. Kraken delisted Monero on European exchanges for regulatory reasons, I believe. So the places and people that can trade Monero continue to shrink, and that is not a good thing for price. The network, love it, but price does not do well when it gets delisted from exchanges. TIA, just like everything else, trying to bottom, trying being the operative word there. Would love to see if all of these can just stay sideways even into 2025. I know that's asking a lot, but those trades to me are just such better trades, to be sure, because here it's like, okay, you know, we can take a stab. We can hope it's the bottom, stop loss at lows like every other chart, but then you're just kind of guessing to me. Aave has done well-ish, kind of up chop, looks okay, not super exciting, but probably better looking than a lot of charts. Has been making highs, but hasn't really been able to hold those highs for an extended period of time. LTC down there at the bottom of the lows, and you can always long whatever and take a stop loss just below the new local low. But again, you're kind of guessing. There is a diagonal support line here on the weekly, so it's kind of do or die pretty soon. And I like this a lot more above 90. Down here, it's kind of scary. It's ready to fall off a cliff by the looks of it. Do a few more and we'll call it. Render, this one I think they just listed on Kraken, but it's certainly not bullish. You know, it's giving back a lot of those highs, a lot of those moves. Bonk, in meme coin territory, we go once again, delving into the depths of despair. Just sideways, right? Sideways is not for me. Why sit in this risky stuff when there's just no need? Like, you want momentum, you want craziness, you want some sort of certainty a little bit. And when you don't have that, this trade gets a lot less attractive to me. Rune, also on my list of charts that I like. It broke out of the cloud, back into the cloud now, back below the 200-day. But if this is able to just chop around sideways, I'm a fan. Looks okay, but not great on the cloud there. ICP was another one, sideways chop, trying to hopefully, maybe, potentially, possibly find a lower, or a new local low rather. Hold on to that local low. But it just needs more time. Not much else to say with it, really. STX also another one I like. Volatile all over the place, but has tried to break through the cloud, the 200, triple bottom. It's trying, but it's been an angry set of days here in the first moments of October. Aptos, another good looking chart, getting denied at the 200, but above the cloud flipping. So this to me is something that I like, that I actively have, that I will probably add to today or tomorrow. A clear differentiator here is it's above the cloud at the bare minimum. Now the cloud isn't completely bullish, but this is why you can leg into the trade. You can add as you get more confident. You can use things like the Williams fractals, which would tell you to be adding at a new high. That new high would also be a breach of the 200-day moving average. This level might not hold. The neckline of the inverted head and shoulders might not hold. The cloud might not hold. But if I'm looking to take risk, this is a chart, to me, that is a great example of that. And I think we'll end it there. There's not much else generally in the high to mid caps going on. We caught the high points here. And ultimately, if you're an altcoiner, you don't want Bitcoin going to zero. You want Bitcoin to do reasonably well. You are rooting for Bitcoin to break above the range here. That's all over this one. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and happy trading.